Senator McGovern's proposal would commit South Vietnam to a communist future, and commit South Vietnam to a communist future whether or not the South Vietnamese people willed it. Senator McGovern's proposal would erode, if not destroy, America's credibility in Asia and throughout the world. In brief, the McGovern proposal would make concessions that even Hanoi has not demanded. George McGovern would offer Hanoi a communist victory 3 months after Hanoi had settled for a compromise peace.
It's 1-2.
The Vice President's trip to Dallas is virtually all political. At Dallas Love Field, 20 minutes later than his scheduled arrival, he opened himself to a limited number of questions from newsmen, but most of his answers were turned toward a campaign for the vice presidency or into praise for incumbent senatorial candidate John Tower. Before leaving for this evening's $50 a plate buffet and reception for Tower and President Nixon, Mr. Agnew affirmed his belief in the Republican ticket and said he was sure both Nixon and Tower would carry the state overwhelmingly. But questions from the press were limited, and the vice president was reluctant to get into any deep campaign issues before he was whisked away to Memorial Auditorium for tonight's gala. He did command attention, though such personages as John Wayne, Frank Sinatra, and Zsa Zsa Gabor are scheduled to be at Memorial Auditorium for the same buffet. Phil Reynolds, Channel 8 News, on the move.
The people of Texas have a right to know that this self-appointed committee is either unwilling or unable to fulfill its avowed purpose or responsibility. Since this committee has failed to meet its responsibility, as a member of the committee, I am today filing a formal complaint with the Secretary of the United States Senate.
Mrs. Pharo, why did you file a complaint with the Secretary of the Senate instead of the Justice Department?
It's my understanding that this is the technical way to do this, and the Secretary of the Senate will give it a full investigation. Yes.
Okay. I think you're going to start at the top, take it all the way down.
Which statement is that you read?
Sanders' campaign. That campaign has obviously received more money from Sanders' immediate family
The gubernatorial election is November 7th, offers no alternative to blacks except voting for Ramsey Muniz. There is no choice between an ultra-conservative segregationist Republican and a conservative Wallace-supported Democrat. It is for this reason that we as concerned blacks openly endorse and support Ramsey Muniz as the next governor of Texas. A vote for Muniz is a vote for your community.
You could have called some of you. They're the ones that can exact that will be determined by the needs that are evident through the planning work that the senatorial by council. Budget means the discipline planning approach. Were established. We conducted a crime analysis program. The state criminal justice council will have available next year from LEA what we project over the next 3 years from can be reduced by comprehensive planning, by the application of
glad that you have taken some of this precious knowledge. Sorry. In ancient times, 3 horsemen were riding across the desert. As they crossed the drive,
Keep hearing the master preacher, this great Son of God. Many of them used to say in those days, how come you preach? He said, I was called to preach. We don't hear that word anymore, but they was called out of the cotton fields and wherever they worked. And behind that word call, there's a great philosophy, meaning he felt way down within himself. He had something within him to help other people. And the only way he knew how to express it, he said, I'm a preacher because I was called to preach. All these things are being cleaned up nowadays that we are looking into black studies and finding out how these words got into print. Not all of your friends printed these words. Some folks printed these words were not your friends.
Well, come on over and speak. Hello, Jane.
Stars to raise funds for the Democrats. We're going to have a grand entry. Some of the names. Give them the welcome they think they deserve. But you know, for the first time, and I hope this is
I have seen some material that I, as a layperson, as not being a doctor, find very difficult to translate. I have been able to glean from it that it's a file on a man that I think is Dolph Briscoe. It's under an assumed name. It matches the address of Mr. Briscoe in Uvalde. And there's 2 treatments in Galveston and 1 in Munich. There's 3. And it shows that he went in there for electric shocks, for mental depression. That's what I've been able to understand as my limited expertise allows me to.
A 14-year-old Seagoville student was handcuffed and hustled down to sheriff's headquarters in Dallas this morning on suspicion of assault to murder. He admitted that he shot the mother of one of his classmates when he saw her gun down his brother by a bus stop on Beltline Road. Deputies rounded up some 20 students who were aboard the bus when the battles broke out. Investigators told me that 49-year-old Thelma Day was arguing with 17-year-old Donnie Hadnot for harassing her daughter. The youth reportedly hit Mrs. Day over the head with a radio, then she allegedly shot him with a .32 caliber pistol. Meanwhile, inside the bus, witnesses said that Mrs. Day's 13-year-old daughter knifed the boy's sister. Before Mrs. Day could run away, another boy got a .22 rifle and shot Mrs. Day in the stomach. All the victims are in fair condition, and Mrs. Day is charged with assault to murder. The juveniles are under investigation. It was a hell of a mess, one deputy told me, and all over a silly argument. Martha McIntire, Channel 8 News on the Move.
This was the nation's finest airport in 1953, so experts said. But Greater Southwest never got airborne as far as a regional airport is concerned because of differences between Fort Worth and Dallas. But it appears the white elephant is going to pay off now in a big way, and soon. The Federal Aviation Administration will order Greater Southwest closed when the new regional airport opens next year. At that time, the city of Fort Worth plans to sell the property. The land probably will bring about $50 million. The federal government, because it put up money to build Greater Southwest, has told the Fort Worth City Council the money derived from the sale cannot be used for any purpose except aviation. So the city plans to use the money to pay off the bonds issued for the purchase of land for the new regional airport.
City Manager Rodger N says this will allow the city to reduce the current property tax by about 13 cents. And Mayor Sharkey Stovall agrees with that opinion. But neither the mayor or the city manager want to talk about this good news openly because they feel it may harm the good relations Fort Worth now has with Dallas. I talked with retiring Dallas City Manager Scott McDonald today. He says it's really no concern of his or the city's. There could be another reason Fort Worth officials don't want to talk about the situation. There are plans to spend about $5 million on the expansion of Meacham Field, Fort Worth's executive airport, despite the fact that a bond issue for the project was turned down by voters in 1970. The expansion of Meacham Field will allow the tenants now at Greater Southwest to move to Meacham. Yesterday, the city began advertising for bids to build 2 new runways at Meacham Field. Jim Green, Channel 8 News on the move at the Greater Southwest Airport.
The topics up for discussion may be serious, but the mood is informal. The idea is to get the council members away from the pressures of their normal civic and business obligations so they can completely immerse themselves in city affairs without interruption for a day and a half. And the best way to do this, apparently, is to get out of town, in this case to the Brookside Inn in Waxahachie. In keeping with the mood of informality, the council spent most of the afternoon gathered around the fireplace in the Kiva Club. Off went the coats and ties, and out came the cigars. And for City Manager Scott McDonald, who is stepping down at the end of the year, it was also a chance to take a few last pictures. But underlying the informality of this retreat are discussions which could have a great impact on the future direction of city government in Dallas.
Well, I think the informality actually lends itself to the proper attitude to make some of these far-reaching decisions in such areas as the directions we're going to go in revenue sharing expenditures, in crime control, which we went into this afternoon, certainly in the charter revision discussions, which we're likely to have. I think that these are going to be the kind of decisions that will be important, especially with the new city manager, George Schrader, coming in.
Most of the council's time this afternoon was spent in a discussion of ways to improve police services in Dallas. But in somewhat of a surprise, the council's investigation of rumors connected with the police department was never mentioned. Jack Hill, Channel 8 News on the Move in Waxahachie.
Yeah, I guess I was wrong on that one. It has been over up till now, though. Just special teams, and it's still not the same as playing.
Charlie, you've been with the club and primarily at free and strong safety. Are you concerned about the move to cornerback as such?
Well, I was real concerned about it at camp. When you interviewed me out there, I told you that it was really, tough to play cornerback. And when we came down and played Houston, I had a tough time with that. But Coach Lander said, the big thing is if he learns, talking about me, if I learn by my mistakes, if I can come back and play the things that were hurting me, then, I'll develop into being a pretty good one. And I think I've, matured a little bit, and I think I'm going to be able to improve the more I get to play, the longer if he keeps me in there and things are going bad, and if he does have confidence in me and keeps me in there, then I will improve. Of course, I like safety better. I will say that. I like strong safety as my best position. And I have played them all, so I just sometimes it's kind of tough remembering what position I am playing. But now I'm sticking at cornerback, and I just hope I can do the job.
Well, at the moment, the legislation reported to the Senate floor favorably by the Senate Judiciary Committee died right there. Congress has adjourned for the year, I believe. It is anticipated that the two leagues, hopefully with the support of both Players Association, will reintroduce merger legislation early in January.
Are you optimistic that a merger could still be consummated in the coming season?
Well, yes. Under the merger agreement, the merger will probably take place next year or not for a while. The merger agreement expires at the end of the next calendar year. I expect that if it takes place in the foreseeable future, it will be next year in time for playing an integrated schedule during the 73-74 season.
Commissioner, without the merger, what's the future of the ABA? Do you see further player ratings and expansion possibly?
Well, let me put it this way. We're right now in an ambiguous situation. It's difficult, however, to run a league not knowing what Congress is going to do or not going to do. And we can't sit idly by. I think we have to make decisions which will ensure the continued existence of the ABA as an independent, viable league. To that end, I think we must continue to procure our fair share of the supply of basketball players and expand this league into desirable, populous cities.
People refer to the Greenville Avenue Christian Church Daycare Center as a little United Nations. Every race and color is represented among the 184 children and 33 staff members there. The center has been in operation for 2.5 years, but a change in federal regulations concerning minimum wages has put this center in a financial bind. The annual budget is $13,488.96, and unless that amount can be raised soon, the center will be closed December 1st. No funds are available from federal agencies. Reverend Robert Lohman doesn't want to turn these children away.
Some of these children have come from deprived homes where the nutrition is not adequate, where the environment is not adequate for their development. And consequently, we are trying to do a work of education and child development here. We're not babysitters. We try to work with the children, and we have a good staff of young women. Most of them are mothers. Some of them have children here in the daycare center themselves. And we try to help them and help the parents. We help mothers who need to work, wish to find employment, and our scale of rates is adjusted according to the income.
Spaces for children in daycare centers in Dallas these days are at a premium. Most won't take children under 2 years old, and most won't take underprivileged children at reduced rates. But none of them can operate without money. For Channel 8 News and the Move, this is Judi Hanna.
Man, oh yes, 9-1. But of course, now that women are beginning to get into the field that men were, the incidence of duodenal ulcer in women is increasing.
Well, would you say then that women's lib could be hazardous to your health?
Oh yes, of course. If they subject themselves to the same tensions and the competitive effort of the male, why, they'll get ulcers.
"83-year-old Clarence Muse is called the Dean of Negro Entertainers. He began his career as a minstrel singer and vaudeville actor and went on to become a respected author, composer, singer, director, and actor in more than 200 movies. He came to Bishop College this week to help celebrate homecoming of the 92-year-old school, to accept an honorary Doctor of Humanities degree, and to narrate an impressive presentation with a concert choir called The History of Black Church Music. Black history has only recently become a part of education in America. After Dr. Muse's program, it was apparent, to me at least, that we've been missing a very rich aspect of our heritage. For Channel 8 News and the Move, this is Judi Hanna at Bishop College.